Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. I would like to welcome all the distinguished guests for today's important discussion on strengthening the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and the Russian Federation. We have gathered here to explore the significant opportunities for collaboration between the two countries and to highlight the purpose of this dialogue, and will examine various facets of the Pakistan-Russia relationship and our shared interests. Let us proceed with today's program. Now, I would like to request for the welcome address of our chairperson, KCFR chairperson, Madam Nadra Panjwani, who is a leading philanthropist with valuable contributions in every field of human development, be in health, higher education, special education, women empowerment, or scientific research. She has been honored at many national and international fora and is also the recipient of the prestigious civil awards of Sitara Imtiaz and Hilali Imtiaz by the state of Pakistan. Madam, please come forward and for your welcome address. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency, Ambassador Albert Khorev, Honorable Consul General Andrei Fedorov, Honorable Consul Generals of Bangladesh and Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. On behalf of myself and all members of the Karachi Council on Foreign Relations, I am delighted to welcome Mr. Ambassador, his entourage, and all our esteemed guests to this gathering. I'm pleased to see that the Honorable Consul General of Iran has also joined us. Sir, please welcome. Excellency, I am sure you have been briefed about our council by your colleagues in Karachi. Still very briefly, let me tell you that KCFR was established in 2003 with the objective of providing a forum for interaction of eminent members of our civil society with diplomats and envoys who come to Karachi so that we play a role in the promotion of relations in all fields of mutual interests. I'm pleased to say that over the years, we have had quite a number of Russian diplomats interacting with us at this forum, and today we are truly honored to have you here with us at KCFR. I know that you have had a busy day in Karachi today and have other official engagements right after our session. Therefore, I'll keep my address brief. Pakistan and Russia have seen their bilateral relations undergo significant changes over the years. We established official relations in May 1948, but due to the divergence of outlooks between us, our relations remained generally tense during the Cold War era and later during the Afghan crisis. Since the beginning of 2010, slowly and gradually, our relations began to improve, mainly driven by regional developments and mutual economic interests. Military cooperation started between us in 2011. We conducted joint military exercises, stepped up our counterterrorism cooperation, and saw a significant increase in the volume of our defense trade with Russia. Pakistan's joining of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in 2017, where Russia is a key member, has infused new energy in our mutual ties. Last year, our bilateral trade stood around $1 billion, and most of this comprised of imports from Russia, primarily wheat, coal, fuels like LNG, and crude oil. In September this year, the Deputy Russian Prime Minister and the Pakistani leadership explored potential collaboration in food security, railways, science and technology, and connectivity. Pakistan expressed interest in barter trade with Russia and the easing of visa regulations to promote people-to-people contacts. On the subject of our people-to-people relations, unfortunately, these have historically remained minimal, and it is most essential for our decision makers to enable more interactions between our citizens. We need more educational and cultural diplomacy, like academic partnerships and youth exchange programs, more travel and tourism, more events and festivals, and media engagement, and possibly cultural centers in our major cities on both sides. These measures can build a more robust foundation for our long-term cooperation. We were very happy to see that last month at the Shanghai Cooperation Summit held in Islamabad, Russia participated actively with a sizable delegation of 76 members, headed by the Russian Prime Minister and senior officials and diplomats. This showed seriousness of intent and purpose. The Russian Prime Minister, Mikhail Mishustin, advocated stronger economic ties within the Shanghai Cooperation framework and highlighted the importance of the Belt and Road Initiative. He also called for strengthening the North-South transport corridor, which is a multimodal transportation route aiming to connect Russia with the Middle East, South Asia, Europe, facilitating trade and transit across these regions. The BRICS alliance is another influential forum where Russia plays a leading role. While it has started with 5 member states, today BRICS has 11 member states, and collectively they represent the world's largest emerging economies with considerable political and economic influence. Pakistan aspires to join BRICS to improve trade relations, diversify its international partnerships, and reduce its reliance on Western financial institutions by finding alternative sources of economic collaboration. While we understand the concerns that BRICS might be having regarding the geopolitical and economic challenges that Pakistan is facing, when we look at the new entries at BRICS, we feel that Pakistan also qualifies to be a member and must be given a chance to join this important coalition. We expect our influential friends like China and Russia to support our bid for joining BRICS. Here I want to acknowledge the fact that after the terrorist attack at the Quetta railway station on Saturday, which killed 27 innocent people, President Vladimir Putin was one of the first foreign leaders to condemn this attack and express solidarity with us in our stand against terrorism. We appreciate his statements and his sentiments. So yes, there is definitely a desire and a momentum for deeper economic integration and greater regional alignment, but there are also challenges along the way that we have to manage. Russia's historical relationship with India, which is to this day its largest defense partner, is of obvious concern to us. Similarly, US influence and interest in this region add to the complexity of Pakistan and Russia relationship. Then our dependence on international financial institutions and bailouts impact our independent decision-making and the scope of our collaboration with Russia. And finally, Western sanctions on Russia due to the Ukraine war make us cautious of secondary sanctions in the event of financial transactions with Russian entities. Therefore, the future of our relationship will depend on our ability to navigate and circumvent these challenges and build on emerging opportunities. Looking at the larger picture, the ascendancy of China, the resurgence of Russia, the emergence of the global South, the decline of Western dominance, the wave of technological transformation, and the digital era have all given rise to a new world order with seismic shifts in power dynamics. Multiple power centers have emerged, which have redefined global governance. In this rapidly changing world, if we want to remain relevant, we have to adapt accordingly. It is important for both of us to strengthen our bilateral relations. Russia is looking eastwards for new markets, and Pakistan, driven by geopolitical priorities, is expanding her diplomatic and economic outreach to strengthen her food and energy security. Indeed, there is plenty of scope for us to move forward together. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for making time for us today and accepting our invitation. We look forward to constructive follow-ups with you and your colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your very insightful and valuable speech and for setting the tone for further discussion. Well, for those who do not know about the relationship of Russia-Pakistan, Russia was the first who gave us as a gift steel mill, Park Steel Mills. At the same time, they helped us to send our first satellite to orbit in 1954. At the same time, they helped us to put up the 950 megawatt furnace-based power plants in Pakistan, that is in Gudu Thermal Power, Jamshoro, and Muzaffargarh. At the same time, they were the first who basically did job for us for oil and gas exploration. And that at that time, we basically established OGDC. Before I make a humble request to our chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Albert Khorev, the Ambassador of Russian Federation, for his valuable address, I would like to share his brief profile to our distinguished guests. His Excellency Albert Khorev is a seasoned Russian diplomat who joined the diplomatic services in 2002. He holds degrees from the Institute of Asian and African Studies at Moscow State University in 2002 and the Diplomatic Academy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia in 2011. Mr. Khorev's career includes extensive experience in Afghanistan, where he served in various diplomatic roles from 2004 to 2008, and later as Minister Counselor from 2018 to 2020. He also held the role of Deputy Director at the Second Department for Asia in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 2020 to 2022. On November 10, 2023, Mr. Khorev was appointed as the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Russia to Pakistan. He holds a diplomatic rank of Envoy Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary second class, and he is fluent in English, Dari, Pashto, and Persian. Now, I would like to request the distinguished guests to please welcome His Excellency Mr. Khorev with a round of applause. Excellency, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Dear Madam Nadira, dear Honorable Consulate General, dear diplomats, dear National Assembly representatives of research and scientific organizations and civil society of Pakistan. Let me first of all thank KCFR and Investment Department, Government of Sindh, for organizing such an event. It's my real and deep honor and privilege to be here today with you. I would like to start with joining my president in expressing condolences to the government and people of Pakistan with regard to recent terrorist attack in the province of Baluchistan, and expressing the hope that those who organized this terrible attack would be, all of them would be found out and punished. In my today's speech, I would like to focus on the most interesting, in my view, issues for Pakistani side. The issues of, first of all, our bilateral relations, the issue of Ukraine crisis, and the situation in the Middle East, and some issues of our joint cooperation within regional and international organizations. Pakistan has always been and remains one of Russia's priorities in Asia. We appreciate your country's friendly attitude towards fruitful and mutually beneficial dialogue. We see Pakistan as a reliable partner committed to preserving its cultural and religious values and defending its sovereignty. Our countries enjoy an intensive political dialogue, which has been reflected in a series of high-level visits to Islamabad and bilateral contacts at the highest level. In September-October, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Averchuk, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, and the Speaker of the Russian Senate, Valentina Matvienko, visited Pakistan. These visits resulted in the signing of important documents in the field of bilateral cooperation. Our business cooperation is showing positive momentum. At the end of last year, our trade turnover reached a record high of over $1 billion, to be exact, $1.1 billion. During the first 7 months of this year, this positive trend is going on, and we hope that at the end of this year, we will reach another record, another highest record. I would like to stress that since last year, Russia began its first deliveries of crude oil to your country. And since June 2023, we have delivered more than 7 million barrels of Russian Urals crude oil to Pakistan. On the sideline of the first Russia-Pakistan Business Forum held in Moscow in early October this year, the first barter agreement in the recent history of bilateral relations was signed. Russian chickpeas and lentils will be exchanged for Pakistani rice and tangerines. We are ready to further strengthen Pakistan's food security. It should be noted that cereals account for the bulk of Russian exports. We are pleased to note the growing trade in agricultural and food products between Russia and Pakistan. Pakistan has great transit potential. We welcome Islamabad's interest in joining the existing infrastructure of the North-South International Transport Corridor. We expect good value added from the maritime container services launched in 2023. We also welcome Pakistan's accession to the Memorandum of Understanding on the creation and development of the International Transport Corridor Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Being in Karachi, I am particularly pleased to announce that following the mentioned contacts at the high and highest level, we have managed to give a new impetus to the bilateral dialogue on the issue of revitalizing the Karachi steel mills. The first round of expert consultations will take place in the near future. To be exact, the next week. I mean, this week actually. Today is Monday, right? Yes, I think within 3 days we will have. To my knowledge, they could discuss the construction of a new modern steel mill on part of the site of the former Karachi steel mills. The ninth meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission between our two countries, scheduled for early December this year in Moscow, is expected to consolidate the current positive momentum in bilateral relations and outline new promising areas of cooperation, which are aviation, metallurgy, railway engineering, pharmaceuticals, and medicines are among these areas of cooperation. In order to further expand the full range of bilateral cooperation, it is crucial to intensify interbank cooperation, including with a view to expanding the use of national currencies and currencies of third countries in mutual settlements. We are pleased to note Pakistan's growing interest in Russian education and culture. However, the potential in these areas is still very much untapped. We are interested in further promoting military cooperation. We appreciate the constructive nature of Russia-Pakistan defense relations. Our general staffs and branches of the armed forces maintain active contacts. In July this year, General Sair Shamshat Mirza, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, visited Moscow. Last month, General Sergei Istrakov, Deputy Chief of the Russian General Staff, and General Alexander Fomin, Deputy Defense Minister, visited Islamabad. At the same time, Russia and Pakistan held the 7th round of the Druzhba, or Friendship Joint Anti-Terrorist Military Exercise in the province of Punjab. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful for Pakistan's neutrality on the conflict in Ukraine, despite pressure from outside forces. The situation in Ukraine, however, remains tense. The Russian armed forces are steadily pushing back the front. Peaceful life is being established in the liberated settlements, and we are working on rebuilding civilian facilities and infrastructure. At the same time, we are witnessing the transformation of the ideology that has taken root in Kiev from Nazism and neo-Nazism to international terrorism. The Ukrainian Nazis continue to terrorize the Russian civilian population with daily artillery, shelling and drone attacks. The regime of Vladimir Zelensky, whose presidential mandate has already expired in May this year, encouraged by its Western mentors, shows no sign of common sense, no willingness to engage in a real peace negotiation process. Instead, this so-called president, detached from the realities on the ground, spouts various ideas and tries to promote ultimatums against Russia. After the failure of the so-called peace formula, Zelensky has come up with another idea, the so-called victory plan, which should more accurately be called the disaster plan. His goal is to beg for more money from his mentors and to demonstrate his terrorist capabilities. In fact, both initiatives are aimed at the same thing: escalating the conflict at the expense of the lives of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians and plundering the country. The main goal is to draw NATO into a direct military confrontation with Russia. Using this opportunity, I would like to mention my encouragement of being yesterday at the ceremony devoted to Remembrance Day, which is usually celebrated the Sunday closest to 11th of November. And there were some remarks by the chief guests, former foreign secretary, who was shared his view on the First and the Second World War. So I was thinking that today's reality, today's situation is requests from all of us to think about the possibility to prevent the Third World War. So Zelensky's politics can be de facto leading to this unfortunate and tragic possibility. In the same vein, it is worth mentioning an event held at the end of October this year in Montreal, Canada, devoted to the problem of the return of Ukrainian prisoners of war. According to reports, representatives of more than 45 countries took part in this event. Canada, Ukraine, and Norway were the main organizers and were represented by their foreign ministers. We see this as another political performance, since the Kiev regime and its Western patrons are only interested in the return of fighters from nationalist battalions such as Azov, Aidar, Right Sector, Kraken, Donbass, as well as foreign mercenaries who took part in hostilities against Russia as part of the Foreign Legion, Polish Volunteer Corps, Georgian Legion, and others. Indeed, Zelensky and company do not care much about the fate of their own Ukrainian forces. I would like to say a few words about the international legal aspects of the Ukrainian conflict in connection with the West's accusations against Russia of violating the territorial integrity of Ukraine. It is inadmissible to single out the principle of territorial integrity of states without taking into account the right of peoples to self-determination. The connection between these two principles is enshrined in the Declaration on Principles of International Law of 1970, adopted by consensus by the UN General Assembly. It stipulates that the territorial integrity of states whose governments represent all the people living in a given territory should be respected. As we know, those who carried out the coup in Kiev in 2014 never represented the Russian-speaking citizens living in Crimea, Donbass, and Novorossiya. We must not forget respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion, as stated in Article 1.3 of the UN Charter. These rights have been flagrantly violated by the Kiev regime for many years. Article 25 of the UN Charter speaks of the need to implement the decisions of the Security Council. As we know, the Minsk Agreement of 2015 were endorsed by its Security Council Resolution 2202, which has been sabotaged for many years by the Kiev regime in violation of the UN Charter. We are confident that the day will soon come when the entire territory of the Russian Federation, including the new territories, will finally be rid of the Bandera and neo-Nazi ideology. We believe that sooner or later this will happen in the whole of Ukraine, because Nazism and neo-Nazism should have no place on our planet. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a few words on the Russian approach to the Middle East conflict. We are deeply concerned by the unprecedented escalation of violence in the Middle East, which has continued unabated for more than a year. We call for an immediate and complete ceasefire in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict zone. The unhindered delivery of humanitarian assistance to the civilian population and the creation of conditions for the resumption of the peace process on a universally recognized international legal basis. In this regard, we believe that actions aimed at further destabilizing the situation in the Middle East and expanding armed confrontation with the direct threat of descending into a major regional war are unacceptable and deserve strong condemnation. Obviously, the Israeli invasion of sovereign Lebanese territory is one example. Another is the indiscriminate attacks and strikes by the Israeli air forces on Syrian territory, and we witnessed this just recently. We urge all parties to exercise restraint and prevent further uncontrolled spirals of violence. We adhere strictly to the provisions of the core UN Security Council and General Assembly resolutions on both the Palestinian issues and the status of the occupied territories in Lebanon and Syria. In this regard, we support the fulfillment of the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinians to establish their own independent state of Palestine within the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, living side by side in peace and security with Israel, as well as the granting of Palestine the status of a full member of the United Nations. We believe that the violation of these fundamental rights and the departure from the agreed basis for a settlement as a result of Washington's failed policies have led to the current explosion in the Middle East and constitute an objective obstacle to overcoming the crisis. The UN Security Council has so far failed to fulfill its direct mandate to maintain international peace and security and to adopt a resolution with a clear demand for an immediate and complete ceasefire in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict zone. The reason for this tragic paralysis of the Council is obvious: the position of the Americans, who block all relevant resolutions and decisions, including by using their veto power. By doing so, Washington effectively provides international cover for Israel's violent operations, not to mention direct military support through incessant arms deliveries and intelligence assistance. As a result of this US policy during the year of bloodshed in the Middle East, the UN Security Council was able to adopt 4 meaningless resolutions that were doomed to remain on paper because they didn't contain a full-fledged demand for a cessation of hostilities. Russia supported only one of them, UNSC Resolution 2728, with a ceasefire clause for the period of the holy month of Ramadan. However, even this resolution was not implemented, as the Americans immediately declared that it was not legally binding and in fact gave Israel the green light to continue hostilities. It is clear that this vicious circle must be broken. We support the relevant initiatives and efforts, especially those of the Arab countries. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is gratifying that despite the Western minorities' best efforts, countries of the global majority, the countries of the global South and East, are increasingly clearly showing that they understand what kind of processes are taking place in the world, their background and real reasons, including the events in Ukraine and Middle East. The fact that a multipolar world is becoming a reality is beyond doubt for most people today, and the number of countries advocating a just world order is steadily growing. Such countries are ready to resolutely defend their legitimate rights to uphold their national interests and traditional values. Thus, new centers of power and economic growth are consolidating. Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS countries deserve a special mention in this regard. I would like to congratulate Pakistan with the successful holding of the SCO Heads of Government Council meeting held in mid-October in Islamabad. It is worth mentioning that the meeting once again confirmed the broad regional consensus on the respect of the sovereignty, independence, equality, justice, and mutually beneficial cooperation. We are focusing within SCO activities on counterterrorism, counter-extremism, counter-narcotics, as well as developing trade and economic relations, transport connectivity, scientific, cultural, education spheres. The Russian initiative of creation the Greater Eurasian Partnership with the participation of the SCO, Eurasian Economic Union and ASEAN countries was principally supported by other members. We consider joint work with our SCO partners to be a priority. As you know, Russia took the chairmanship in Heads of Government Council from Pakistan and will be chairing in this format for the next year. The organization has always taken coordinated measures aimed at ensuring economic self-sufficiency. We see positive dynamics in the internal markets for goods, services, and capital, and our regional integration has deepened within the organization. This is also supported by trade statistics. In 2023, the volume of Russia's trade turnover with the SCO member states increased by almost a quarter, almost 25%. At the same time, the volume of Russian exports increased by 16.2%, and Russian imports increased by 37.2%. We note with satisfaction that the SCO member states have become more active in switching to national currencies in their mutual transactions. For example, their share in Russia's commercial transactions with the organization's member states in the first 4 months of this year has already exceeded 92%, compared to 40%, only 40% in 2022. Russia is ready to take an active part in the work on the formation of an independent financial system, including within the framework of the adopted SCO roadmap to increase mutual transactions in national currencies. The SCO member states have a rich cultural heritage and significant innovation potential to create a sustainable, effective model of cooperation in the creative economy. In order to fully unlock this potential, we propose that our SCO partners create a framework for our cooperation in the development of creative industries. Dear ladies and gentlemen, as you know, this year Russia was chairing in BRICS organization, and the summit held in the city of Kazan was another success, as it showed the futility of attempts to isolate Russia internationally. Delegations from 35 countries representing 4 different continents took part in this forum in an atmosphere of friendship, opening, and mutual respect. And even more number of countries expressed its readiness and willingness to take part in this event. The forum underscored the rapidly growing influence of BRICS and the eagerness of numerous countries to engage with its initiative. A new category of partner nation was established during the Kazan summit. The prospects for cooperation between BRICS countries and the global South countries were also was also explored in the interest of common development and indivisible security. The Kazan Declaration was a joint document. Among other issues, clearly laid out the participation countries to promote positive changes in the global economy and politics, with an eye towards building a fairer and more balanced international order, free from neocolonialism, and reforming global governance institutions and effectively addressing global challenges. And I would like to complete my speech with a confirmation that Russia supports the interest and the eagerness, willingness of Pakistan to join BRICS organization. And we consider that that will be, of course, a smooth process. And as a first step, we would welcome Pakistan's integration, joining the new development bank structure functioning under the BRICS. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I'm ready.